Hello, good afternoon, this is Diecast and I hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to another episode of Vintage Matchbox Mondays. And in this week's video we've got some really cool pieces I've come across. We've got 4 pieces that we're going to be taking a look at. Really it should have been called a Mashup Monday because it's not all Matchbox this week. It is actually a mixture of vintage pieces. 2 vintage Matchboxes to be looking at to start with, and then we're going to take a look at the wild cards, what's extra I picked up. So anyway, let's get straight into it and take a look at the cars. So I got this very cool early Jaguar. So like I've said before in previous videos, after Saturdays, because I work on Saturday mornings, there's always if the weather's good, there's an open air flea market. That man has been there again, and I've been to his stall many times before in the past, and he has a real array of vehicles, and he always seems to have new pieces, or should I say more vintage pieces. So this week I lucked out. I got some really cool stuff. So this is not usually what I'd collect. This is a bit older than what I'm into, but I just thought it's in such good condition that I had to pick it up. So this just says Jaguar 3.4 litre, made in England by Lesney, and this was produced from about 1958 1959, and this is when Matchbox, or should I say Lesney, was still part of Moco, because I think back in the beginning when they first started, it was Moco Lesney or Matchbox Moco. I can't remember now, but it used to say Moco on the boxes. It'd say Matchbox and then it'd say Moco at the bottom, because they were in partnership as far as I'm aware of. So a lot of the earlier stuff has Matchbox Moco or Moco Matchbox on the boxes, and this is what this would have had on its box when it was new. And like I said, this piece was made from about 1958 1959, and it's very basic. So you've got a pretty cool casting. They got the casting spot on, but it obviously has no plastic interior or no plastic glass, or should I say glass at all. Wasn't long after this they started to go to glass, and then eventually as the time went on they ended up having interiors. But I just thought, for something that's so old, from the late 50s, it's in remarkably good condition. So that was a no-brainer, and again, I didn't pay a lot for it. It's £4, which I thought was very cool. So that's the first piece. Second piece of vintage Matchbox is this awesome Aston Martin. I think this is a DBR5 race car, and again I only paid a couple of quid for this. Let's take a look underneath. So there you go, Aston Martin DBR5, made in England by Lesney, all that good stuff. And this was produced from about 1962, I believe. But even though it's a bit tattier than I would usually like to collect, I just thought it looked really cool because it still has its tyres, still has its steering wheel, and it's just got that patina look to it because it's that type of car. And a lot of these cars, if I remember rightly, I don't think they were steel bodied. I think they were aluminium bodied for lightness, I think. Don't hold me to that. So the fact that the paint's come off, it almost looks like what an old race car would look like if the paint's chipped off, revealing the aluminium tub, and you've got, so the number there is chipping away. So I just thought that looks really cool. So again, I don't know much about these older Lesney Mocos and the older Lesney cars. I think by the time this had come out, now I'm not sure if Moco, if Lesney had bought out Moco, I can't remember. I didn't really look too much up about these, but I just thought it looked cool, and it still rolls quite nice. So anyway, so that's the Aston Martin DBR5. So that's the first 2 older pieces out the way. So the next piece I picked up was this interesting little thing. So this is made by Mattel, so as you can see it says 1970s Mattel, £3, that's what I paid for it. He had about 5 or 6 of these there, all different sorts. He had covered wagons. They all seem to be hot rod related, but there was covered wagons. Actual fact, let me just show you some of the other stuff that was there. So obviously the pictures you just seen are what I got off the internet, but he did have those there. So it was quite an array, and I nearly bought all 5. I was tempted to buy all 5 or 6 pieces that you had, and then I thought, no, I'll just get this one because it's the most interesting looking, and I just thought it'd be cool to show. from what I've from research, these came out about 1972, and they were called Zues. I'm not quite sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but again, not a massive amount of information about them. But I just thought it was cool because they are from the same. Now, one part of the research that I looked up mentioned that these are made by Hot Wheels, and then the other bit of research that I searched up said they were just made by Mattel, which is obviously the company that owns Hot Wheels. So whether any of you lot out there will know, I'll be grateful to know, but they do look Hot Wheels looking. But I just thought it was cool. First, again, it's the fact that it's old and it's lasted. So obviously it's a die cast. The majority of it is die cast. The base and the motor and all is all die cast. The upper is like a plastic, and then obviously you've got the wheels. Doesn't say a massive amount underneath, it just says Mattel, as you can see. I think Hong Kong, that's right, these are made in Hong Kong, and they do roll really quite well. So I bought it purely just to have as a cool sort of piece of conversation. Something to be cool. Eventually it's in my collection. It'll be quite cool, because it's so small and unique. And it is small because if we put it to I've got anything to hand, so average Hot Wheels. So that was pretty cool. So like I said, it wasn't a massive amount on the internet about this really, or whether I was looking in the right places. So that is the Zues. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it. Possibly from Hot Wheels. So that's pretty cool. And like I said, lasted all those years for something so small. Now, my favourite piece that I come across this week is this little Chitty Bang Bang model. And again, it's a bit play worn, but again, I had to get it. It was £5. There you go. Date's 1968, which is right. These were produced for about 1968, 1969, and this is from a company called Husky. So there we go. There you go. Husky models, Chitty Bang Bang, made in Great Britain, and it's got the Husky logo there. And these were made by the same company that Corgi was made by, which I think was Mattel. And basically, when these were made squarely at going into competition with Matchbox. If I get this right. So Husky toys were a cheaper alternative to Corgi, because Corgi back in the day, back in the sort of late 50s and 60s, they were quite expensive, very well made. They seemed to be going squarely after Dinky, and Dinky was turning out some great stuff. So Corgi was very much like Dinky, but they were making some really quite expensive stuff, and so the Husky line was squarely aimed at going up against Matchbox, more affordable toy, but still very well made, and it's quite weighty. So it has got, this is all die cast base, obviously metal axles. They are metal wheels with a hard nylon tire on top, and obviously this would have all been chromed, quite brightly chromed. But that, to be honest, apart from that on the front, that is, this tag's getting in the way, that is the only piece that's really suffered. When the car came out, it would have come in and again, I'll show it quickly, so I'll just show it quickly. So that was the original blister. So as you can see from the original picture, when it was in the blister, you could see it did have like a little wing there at the front that clipped on, and a little wing there that clipped on at the back, and they did just pop on and pop off, but they are obviously long since gone. These people apparently do pull out, but I'm not going to, as they are old. But it was cool. I just thought, I've not seen this before. I've seen Corgi's bigger version of Chitty Bang Bang before, but I've never seen this, and I just thought it was interesting. And like I said, I will clean this up. I won't re-chrome that, I'll leave it as it is, as again it gives some character. And like I said, usually I like all my stuff to be either mint or survivor cars, but sometimes play worn, sometimes it's cool to buy because like I said, it gives it that character. The whole thing is there pretty much. You have got the little horn set, and it does still have, if I remember right, these do still operate, these little wings, if I can do it easier off the viewfinder. And again, these are quite fragile and they've lasted. So very, very cool. So I was happy to have that. So like I said, that will get a clean up and then that will go on display at some point. But anyway, bit of a different week this week for cars. All of these cars are not usually what I would buy, because usually I'm a hardcore vintage Matchbox collector mainly. But like I said, all interesting in their own right. Remarkably good condition for something so old. Remarkably good condition for something that's so flimsy and small. And I just thought these two pieces just looked particularly cool. But anyway, with that, please like, share, subscribe. Stay tuned for more vintage Matchbox Mondays. And you never know, I might start doing some other vintage brands as I come along it, or come across it, should I say. And with that, I'll see you all very soon. Thank you for watching. Take care.